normally with these webinars, it's quite easy to kind of decide how much I'm going to cover and what I'm going to cover. This one, it was a bit more difficult because everything moves so quickly. And at one end, you've got people who use AI a lot and who can do anything you like with it pretty much, you know, and they can manipulate, they can do broadcast level stuff, all these type of things. And that's great, you know, if you can do that. And the problem I find with it is that for a lot of people, it's where do you start? And that partly that was my problem with this, to be honest, is do I start right at the bottom when nobody knows anything, or would I go right up to the top with a full broadcast thousands of pounds equipment? And I decided to think I would do probably a bit more at the lower end of it. If you're already a complete expert, I can probably suggest that you do these talks because you probably know more than me. The thing about AI, we do about 50, 60 exercises a year. And we use AI now in probably 90% of them. So it's becoming more and more a thing to use. But, and it's a big but, I'll start with a warning about using AI in exercises. The point of an exercise is not to be too clever. You know, we have to go back to when we started doing exercises, and that was in probably 1998. It's still the same. What is the objective of the exercise? What is it you're trying to do? What are you trying to prove? What are you trying to find out? And then build your scenario around those objectives. And all the things that you can do, the scenario, all the tools that I can show you, they're enablers. You can add life to it, but in the end, don't get too caught up on it. I know somebody who spent 5 days building a video for an exercise. Now, where they found 5 spare days to do these things defies me as much as anybody else probably. If you've got that much time, yeah, fine, good luck. But the problem was that pretty much nobody noticed. And they were hugely disappointed because it wasn't what folk remembered about the exercise. So yes, the tools are great, but remember to use them in the right way. And what tools? Well, there are so many. I mean, I could spend the next hour just listing the tools that are out there. So I've tried to go at the kind of the low to medium end in terms of pricing, and I'll come to pricing at the end. The tools that are there, probably a lot of you will have used, will have seen ChatGPT, Gemini, the Copilot, these sort of things. They're pretty much everywhere now. Most folk have at least had a play with it. Video stuff, there's quite a few out there. LTX I use, it's pretty good. Voice cloning, again, I'll show you that with, I use 11 Labs, who I think are probably the best at the moment in the market. Lip sync, taking all of that stuff and doing the clever things of lip syncing. I use Bozo because at the moment I think it's the best. Playing with AI images, there's loads there. Adobe Express, rather than the full Adobe, mostly gives you what you need. Audio editing, I use Audacity, which I think any of you who are musicians, I was going magicians, but it's the same thing, musicians, probably have used Audacity at some point, or Keys. And video editing, VLC, again, been on the go a very long time. So those are the kind of the tools that are there. There are just unbelievable numbers of them out there. There's new ones all the time, and the complexity, some of them is a problem. There's a new one I'm looking at the moment. I got it on Friday. I saw some good reports on it, brought it down. So I had a look at it and I thought, well, right, I'll start with the training videos that they give you. There are 32 training videos to learn how to use this video tool. Frankly, life's too short. I just don't have time to watch 32 videos. It's just too much. So what I've tried again to do are use tools that are user friendly, things that you can play about with for half an hour and you'll start to get the hang of it. The top end stuff, the expensive, it's brilliant, but the learning curve is massive. So I've tried to show ones that are going to be usable at a fairly basic level. We'll start with using AI, ChatGPT, Gemini, and these sort of things to get your scenario. And probably a lot of you have tried to do that, and we use it too as a bit of thing. But give it a bit of help, to be honest. If you just put in, give me a scenario that there was high winds, it'll produce something, and it'll be okay. And what it's quite good for is I can't think anything about weather. What can I put in? And it will give you something back. But the more you give it, the better the scenario will be, and the more it'll focus to what you want out of it. So we put together this kind of way of just a questionnaire in your own mind. When you're putting it into ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok, whatever, I don't care which, they've all got good and bad in different ways. Start with this point. What are you, again, it's back to what do you want the exercise to do? You know, what's the point of the exercise? This isn't really about trying to win an Oscar or some sort of BAFTA award or whatever. What's important is that you focus on what is it you're trying to do, what type of incident. Hacking's obviously the one most people do. Looking at things like when should it happen? When's bad times? You know, is it month end? More than likely, is it overnight? Is it at the weekend? Is it any of these type of things? That'll more of a test. And when, you know, out of hours are always good. Looking at your BIAs to see what are the critical activities that you actually want to see are part of the exercise. And be honest, what's the strength in your plan? What's the weakness in your plan? And are any teams weak? You know, IT don't respond out of hours, comms never available. Sorry if you work in any of those things. I don't, nothing personal. And you know, facilities don't have enough people to cover. These sort of things will make the story that you get back much more useful to you. So just putting in a vague query will give you an answer, and you can then take that and tailor it yourself. If you want to use AI to get the best results, give it more information and it'll give you more back. So that's one that we use just to try and kind of our thoughts of what the questions will be. And I thought I would do one. I'm using ChatGPT. At the moment, I generally tend to use Gemini because I think to me, it seems to give slightly better results for our sort of stuff. But somebody was talking to me when I was doing this and they asked about ChatGPT. So I did it on ChatGPT. It makes no difference. And what I thought I'd do is, this is a bit, suppose I was running this as a physical training course. What kind of scenario could give me a problem? So I put it into ChatGPT and it took 16 seconds to get an answer, which showed that I was in an office in the city centre. All these things had happened, sudden power outage, gives you a whole lot of, and this is because you've given it more information to start with, it gives you more back. So it tells you things like, you know, it's affecting HVAC, the air conditioning, elevators, and I'll come to all that sort of stuff, all the other things. So it's built into that. The one thing to watch if you're using this, if you just cut and paste, remember these are American software tools. So very much what comes back is Americanisms and spelling. So you'll see multiple city blocks and things like that, construction crews, not really terms we would use. So just watch that if you're just going to do a cut and paste, that it isn't too obvious that you've just done a cut and paste. We've all done it, and best not. the thing that they're trying to put forward on this is what could be happening. So it's given that things are offline. So I'll not go through it, but it just shows the quality of scenario you can get back. And it builds, it's not just a, you know, the power went out and that's you. Here are all the things it's added. And this only took 16 seconds, remember? And, you know, it's add bits in, hospitals, data centers, all the sort of things that you can add to it. So it shows how well, if you ask the right question, AI gives you a really good answer back, but it is better the more you give it. Now, given that, there's the scenario. The first thing that you can do, and I'll just show you some of the tools having been used, and then we'll get how to do it. So let's create a news broadcast about that. So, and this is all made up companies, so don't worry about that. So you get a picture of the organization. Google Maps does that. It's quite easy to do. I then used 11 Labs to do a voice. So I thought, well, let's have a news broadcaster outside this imaginary office. And hopefully you get the sound. Let's see.
This is Piper Monroe, outside the world headquarters of Acme Enterprises, who we understand are running a training course for their worldwide staff today. A major power cut in the area means that there is no electricity or phone services in this area. We have been told that the power is unlikely to be restored until midnight. We are trying to contact Acme to get a statement.
I'll stop the share just for a second to make sure that in the chat that you're actually hearing the sound, because it's difficult at this end to know whether you're hearing it. I think is sound all. Thanks, Georgia. Excellent. Right, I'll go back to this. So we'll share again. And share entire screen. Let's go. Okay. And there we go. So it's the one thing about this one. There's going to be a wee bit of that in throughout this, because I've got to jump between different organizations and different videos and so on.
This is Piper Monroe, outside the world headquarters of Acme Enterprises, who we understand are running a training course for their worldwide staff today. A major power cut in the area means that there is no electricity or phone services in this area. We have been told that the power is unlikely to be restored until midnight. We are trying to contact Acme to get a statement.
Now, I created that in 11 Labs. Piper Monroe doesn't exist, I would have to say. They have a list of voices. I typed in that chat and I found a Scottish young female voice, and that's what I got. So we can step it up just a little bit. That's the fairly easy one. You can do that with no great effort at all. You just need Google Maps and 11 Labs. Then what about having Piper Monroe actually say these things and lip sync what I've just said?
This is Piper Monroe, outside the world headquarters of Acme Enterprises, who we understand are running a training course for their worldwide staff today. A major power cut in the area means that there is no electricity or phone services in this area. We have been told that the power is unlikely to be restored until midnight. We are trying to contact Acme to get a statement.
So that is Piper Monroe, who again obviously doesn't exist. I just asked for a female journalist in her mid-20s, which is often the kind that you see on TV. They gave me that picture, not the video. They just gave me an image, which I took, and then I used the tools, as you see, going through to do a lip sync, and that's worked pretty well. But there's one or two things. The lip sync isn't absolutely perfect, but just something to think about. to make that better, try and keep the sentences short. Long, complicated sentences, it finds harder and harder to do it. Complicated phrases get out of sync as well. And I wonder how many of you saw the slight problem in the background in that one. And I'll just run it briefly again. I think I can go back up and show it again. Rather than look at Piper Monroe, look at the people behind her down the bottom of the screen, and you'll see there is a bit of a problem. Oh, the other thing is people holding things. Now, this one worked quite well. The image held on to everything. I've used other images of people with microphones who then take their hand away from the microphone and it mysteriously stays in place. So defying gravity in all sentences, and all senses. I'll get there yet. I could do AI to replace me, I think, today. And the other thing, when you put it into PowerPoint, it's quite hard to get it to jump forward. If you just click onto the next screen, the voice can still carry on running. So just some things to keep. And if I just go back up and then down.
This is Piper Monroe,
the bottom,
outside the world
left
headquarters
and right.
of Acme Enterprises, who we understand are running a training course for their worldwide staff today. A major power cut in the area means that there is no electricity or phone services in this area. We have been told that the power is unlikely to be restored until midnight. We are trying to contact Acme to get a statement.
Now, despite the fact that that was a single photo, it wasn't a video, obviously, and I generated the video. So you could see that a bit like the hokey cokey, the folk at the bottom, the work people were going in and out and in and out and in and out. And that's the kind of thing to watch for. Try and avoid too much movement in the background. That way you don't quite get the same. And if you're going to put it in PowerPoint, you might know PowerPoint inside out, but just here are some of the things to think about. If you're putting sound or video in, there's a tab for them along at the far right hand corner on the home menu that you can get that. When you're playing back the audio or the video, I tend to leave it. Click and sequence means when does it start? If you have to click a button to start it, that's fine, if that's what you like. I tend to put it on automatic, so as soon as the slide comes up, it starts playing. It just avoids any difficulties you might have. Choose to play across the slide, so it actually plays when the slide's on screen. And choose to hide during the slideshow, so you don't see the slider of how far through the sound or video you are that comes along the bottom. So that just gets all those things, puts it in the background, and if for the video, choose to play full screen, because otherwise it'll try and fit it into the kind of PowerPoint box. So those are just some things to keep in mind if you're using it. You might know PowerPoint inside out, and that's fine. But I find PowerPoint works absolutely fine for playing these things, because you can move around in it quite easily. But those are just some of the things to watch when you're using it in PowerPoint. And just an example of how things can go wrong, this was something that I was playing about with. So just watch for the disappearing car. Now, it's quite unfortunate if anybody was inside that building that some sort of Vauxhall, I think, just drove up the steps in the front door and into the hallway. Again, that was a single picture that I just started playing about with, asked it to go and move things about, and you see that it did pan round, which it did okay. It picked up a car to move it and completely sent it up into the inside of the building. So you can end up with a lot of problems, and it can be quite frustrating of I like the move, I like that, but I don't want that. So you can find out kind of doing quite a lot of ins and outs and oh, not that. So just some of the things that could go wrong. But I suppose now that you've seen these things, the good and the bad in them, if I now start to share some of the tools that we've got that can do this stuff. Hopefully you can see this. So this is 11 labs. This is the best tool, I would say, for creating voice cloning. It's still, it's not perfect. It's not bad. It's got various levels of pricing. Usually it says if you've got 30 seconds of somebody's voice, it will clone it. I find about 2 or 3 minutes makes it a bit better, but that's kind of how it goes. You're playing around with what works for you. Now, this is how you can create voices, as you saw Piper Monroe. The other thing it's got are noises in the background. So just as a matter of interest. So that will probably woken a few up if you were dozing off listening to. And you can see all the things you can get there. Let's see, wardrobe. So all those sound effects you can get, and you can also develop your own. And I'll show you a scenario that I thought I would do. Was somebody's been hacked, and the hackers know that the chief executive is going to be on a plane, so they've cloned the chief executive's voice. So if I just type in anything like this to get some background noise and ask it to generate that. And it will work a way to generate that for us. Now that will give you it. It gives you 4 versions. To be honest, I don't know why they bother. It just, the emphasis is at different ends. So you've now got this. And slightly different version. So, you know, you've got a sound in the background. So if you wanted traffic passing or any of those sort of things, it's either in there or you just tell it what you want and it will generate something that will do that. So it's quite easy to do. And then you want to put a voice. Now, to save time and my fairly slow typing, I've put in a text. So what I've assumed is that the chief executive, according to the hackers, is at the airport. He's phoning the chief financial officer to say, pay the ransom. Now, a lot of you will have heard that this is an unusual attempt, you know, that trying to get hold of somebody in finance to pay an invoice urgently, all these sort of things, this can be how it's done. So I've typed in what I want to say. I can then choose the voices. Now I can either have cloned a voice. If I just highlight it and say, well, that's what I wanted to say, regenerate speech, and I'm using Callum, which is a default voice. So that's Callum saying it. I wonder what Bill's voice is like. It's the same thing. You know, you can just have as many voices as you want. And you see how quickly. So there you go. That's a voice being generated. I can add. I won't go through how to load the sound effects into the background. It's kind of slower, and I'm sure you can learn that for yourself. I would just put them down at the bottom, and then I can just put in any sound effect I like at any time. Let's see, I suppose we're still okay. So let's see if we can add that one in to it. It might do it, it might not. It's quite slow to work some of these things. So, but that's how to do it. So you've now typed your voice, and you typed in what you wanted to say. You can type anything you want. You can have conversations. You can have more than one voice. We quite often, as a hacking one, do a newsreader interviewing an IT expert. So that gives you a kind of, company Acme has been hacked. I'm going to talk to our IT expert, Melinda, who will tell me exactly what this means. And then Melinda comes on to say, well, they obviously had some fault in their firewall that allowed this to happen, all these sort of things. So you can build up a critical story about an organization, multiple voices doing multiple things. And that way you can see and hear it all happening. You can build it up. And then you've got pretty much what you wanted to do and what you wanted to say. So you can type in anything you want, and it's very easy. As you can see, first screen, you've got a choice of voices there. You've got text to speech. So it has new voices all the time. Text to speech, you type in what you wanted to say, and you add in a sound effect if you really want to do that sort of thing, a bit of background to it that you can use. So there's plenty of ways that you can add stuff in and build it. So that's how to get a voice working. The next thing I would probably do is I would say, well, let's have, was it Michael or John? I can never remember which way around to do these. Talking on video. So let's upload a picture. Let's see, we'll try that one of this highly important person that they have got. Look younger then, never mind. So this is Adobe Express that I'm in, and that's good enough for most things. The full Adobe suite is wonderful, but also expensive. So there's just a basic photo I took of me. I can remove the background. So that's it. The background's gone. I can now add my own background to that. So if I want to add things, I can say, well, I wanted to be at the airport. So I can add media. I can search. If I could type, it would be better. Airport terminal. And all these photos come up. You look for one, you think that would look convincing. So I have one with a departure board. And that comes up, and then you can select it and stretch it to make it fit, and I'll move it about. And again, I won't show it's fairly drag and drop stuff. You can move it about, and then once you've got that, you can take the other one, select it, bring to front, and you've got a photo of me standing in an airport near an arrivals terminal. That's fine. I've got that. So I've now got my photo of me. I've got my voice that I've cloned. How do I do a lip sync? So the next product is Bozo. I know I'm going through these, but you can see them fairly easily. I'll talk about them. I can create a talking video. And start with a video or start with a photo. So all I need to do is start with a photo. So I can upload a photo, and that goes there. So I've got the photo. You can then, so you start with your photo. You can then, and this takes a lot of time. So you then put in your text that you've got. So you can upload your photo, you can upload your text to go with it, or you can just record your own text. Let's see if I can get it to do that. It's a bit slow. So you can upload your audio. So I can then go to the same files, and I had the recording you heard me do. I can bring that in. Is it
John? It's Michael.
It's not keen to come and drag and drop, but let's see. Yeah. So I've now got my photo. I haven't bothered to put the background. I'll sort that all later. I can then generate that. Now this is where I won't be able to show you that, because that will take about 40 minutes. So it's quite a slow process to create the video. So you can see that creating the voice and the text fairly quickly, 5-10 minutes will do that. Doing the picture with the background, 5-10 minutes, easily do that. Once you create the video, that's the bit that's slow. It can easily take 40 minutes to do. There isn't any shortcut, there isn't any quick way. That's just what it does. It takes a long time to do that. So what I'll do now is I'll just go back to the presentation, which hopefully that's what you'll see. So you saw them being done fairly quickly, because I'm not trying to train you on how to use the systems. But you can see an organization that was hacked, systems are down, demand for payment, CEO going on holiday, AI voice cloning. So that's where you've got to. So I've done the 11 labs. Some tips about doing voice cloning and 11 labs. They can be a bit funny at the start. That's why I had some full stops at the start and at the end. It seems to miss the first, sometimes miss the first couple of letters. So doing that expands it a bit. And it says what you type. If you misspell a word, it's going to try and pronounce that word the way you misspell it. So be very careful with some words. For people and names, it struggles. If it's a common name, you know, London, Edinburgh, as long as it's not an Edinburgh pronounced by an American, maybe, these sort of things, it'll be okay. If you've got a company name that's a bit unusual, or somebody's name who's a bit unusual, try typing it phonetically, because then the AI generation will use the phonetic spelling to produce a word that sounds like it. Keep it short if you can. As I said, it says 30 seconds, 2+ minutes is better. And you probably have a few shots at it. So the voice cloning, it's doable, but it takes a bit of practice to get used to how it thinks. And if you're going to actually do voice cloning, you really need some rules in place. We've put these rules in place ourselves. Other folk have different ways of doing it. If you're going to clone somebody's voice, you really need to get their agreement. If Glenn Abbott are doing it for a client, we ask the person whose voice is being cloned to email us, possibly the PA if it's an exec. But we want written agreement that we can clone their voice, because you're in quite a dubious data area here. We then agree with them what they're going to say. And this is another trick if you're doing this sort of thing. I've been caught out with this in the early days, that you clone a voice. It's not bad at all, works okay, that's good. But the cloned voice uses expressions or words that the person you're cloning would never use. And that gives it away quite easily that it's not right. So agreeing what's going to be said, but then trying to get the person you're going to clone to put it in their words so that they're saying it their way. And you can speed it up and slow it down too. Once you've done it, we have a rule in Glen Abbott that we delete everything. We don't keep any of the cloned sound at all. A good place to clone it, if you've got, say, a chief executive who has done talks, and the talks are either on their intranet or on YouTube or anywhere else, if you can get them to download to get your sound, it's great, because it's long, they're talking normally, and it works a treat. But once we've done any of that, we wipe it, and that we give a guarantee that there's no evidence that we have a copy of it. When we do cloning, we make a specific password protected folder so that people's data is doubly protected. All our stuff is obviously secure and password protected, but we create another level. And as I say, if you're using folk like us, please ask us to prove we've deleted everything, I would say. What's quite good if you're doing the sound without the video is organize with somebody in the room of the exercise to get a phone call from the executive, because that way the quality on a phone message is always that bit more dubious. So you get a phone call, you let it go to voicemail, you save it, and then that person doing the exercise says, I've just had an email, I've just had a phone call from the chief executive. Hang on, I'll play it back to you. That will be more effective than if the quality is a bit dubious, because phone messages are always dubious quality, really. So that's quite a good way to do it quickly and easily. And if it's not a perfect copy, that's quite a good way of covering that up. So you saw voice and effects, you saw the photo manipulation, you saw the lip sync. So what I've done, just to save time, and I'm conscious of time in these things, it would take quite a long time for me to do it, as a result of all those things.
John, it's Michael. I'm just about to board my flight. I have seen the demand for a ransom from the hackers. This could really hurt us, so I authorize a payment. On the authority, please clear the funds immediately.
Now that obviously, you know, it's a bit dubious. You can do a lot better, but that shows how quickly it is. I just cloned a random version of my voice. It wasn't cloned very clearly. It was just done in kind of one pass. But you can see that it's all there. So you've got the three elements. You've got voice cloning, you've got a picture of the person, and you've got what looks like an airport. Now, you could have made that a video. There's a lot of things you could do. Something we get asked quite a lot is, can I get my pet to talk? Which shows a lot the kind of people we mix with. The answer is, by and large, for this end of the software, not very well, to be honest. If you're going to spend a lot of money on the kind of top end broadcast level stuff, yes, you can do all that. It's much cleverer. But anybody who's been on these talks before might have come across a spaniel called Logan who loves to join in. And we'll just see if Logan will talk.
John, it's Michael. I'm just about to board my flight. I have seen the demand for a ransom from the hackers. This could really hurt us, so I authorize a payment. On the authority, please clear the funds immediately.
Yeah, you see, that was frankly pretty dreadful. The problem is that the lip sync cloning software uses face recognition, and when you see them doing it, you know, I've seen how they do it. It breaks the face into very small squares and tries to manipulate them. Obviously, at Logan's face, lovely though it may be, it's not a human face. So it struggled to find where the lips are and the movement. Now that was just a still photo of him, and I removed the background easily enough and all these sort of things, even though it's for some reason he decided to wink at us, which hasn't been a habit he's had generally up till now, but we'll see if he retains it. So you can see, yes, it's possible-ish, but as a joke, it doesn't work all that well. Sadly, there are software tools out there that do it, but they tend to be a bit more expensive and a bit more at the top end. So just that's a very brief run through what you can do with it. What does all this stuff cost? Well, the way I would suggest you do it, if you're looking at these tools, is almost all of them have a free version. I would test that first before you sign up. The reason for that is that some, not just that some are better than others, there are, but also some are incredibly complex. The one that I mentioned that I've just started, 32 videos. I can see me actually just stopping it because I just don't have time to watch 32 videos to learn. All of the ones I've shown you today, and I know I've shown them briefly, ChatGPT, Gemini, 11 Labs, Bozo, Adobe Express, these sort of folk, generally you can get them working in less than an hour, probably quite a bit less if you're technical enough, and just try and not do everything at the first go. So they are fairly easy to use. They're not that expensive. The free ones you find tend to have watermarks on them, which you can't remove. But if you're just trying to find out if you like that one better than that one, play about with the free ones, and once you know how it works and you're confident, then you can sign up. The sign up isn't expensive, but again, a couple of things to watch for. The software itself is not that expensive. The subscription is not that expensive, but what happens is you get, and they almost all use the same phrase, points. So your subscription might get you 1,000 points, and generating a video needs 50. So if you generate 20 videos, you've used your points and you need to buy some more. Some of them, the points top up every month automatically with your subscription, but some of them, so watch very carefully what the cost would be if you're going to use it for quite a lot of generation. I mean, we spend about £500–600 a year on software like this and subscriptions and points. And considering we do this for a living and we're doing 50–60 exercises a year, £500 covers it for us. So you're not talking of huge money, unless you go into the professional end, and then you're talking in the thousands, to be honest. But I'm not going to go over those. Something else to be careful about is what you sign up for. There's quite a lot on the internet about how hard it is to get out of some of these things. So one of the first things I would do is check how you stop the automatic renewals, because you'll probably find that after a year you might have seen something better and you want out of it and you want to go out. Some are monthly and you can cancel after a month, and that's great. But it's part of the problem is there is so much new software coming out every day that it's hard to decide what's best. Signing up for a long-term thing can give you a risk of, oh, I wish I had bought that lot instead, and I'll have to get them, and you pay for two, or you don't have as good as you wanted. So just be careful what you sign up to. If it's monthly and you can cancel in a month, that makes it a whole lot better. But always, even when you've signed up and you're happy, make a point of going to your account and check how you get out of it. There's probably a button you click to say don't auto renew. Just make sure that you know how to do that. Now, I've kind of gone through this a lot of speed, I know, in kind of 45 minutes. I've just shown you the kind of things that can be done and some of the basic tools that will do it and some things that you can use. It's not, I'm not trying to train you on any of the tools, because that would be a whole different thing and a whole long session. Have a try at any of them. It's a danger that you get kind of caught into a rabbit hole of these things. And when I first started, I think you could have got a giraffe down the rabbit hole. I was so deep into, oh, there's another one that could do that, and oh, this could, but what about that one? And some of the others in Glen Abbott kindly pointed out that we have a living to make, and it doesn't involve spending all your day playing with the tools and the toys. So it's great fun. There's some great review sites out there that you can get on the internet to follow. There's good ones on YouTube, these sort of things. Be prepared to be disappointed after 6 months because you find that there's a better one. Just live with that. You have to move on. It's moving so fast. All of these generally tend to have a complete upgrade every 3 months. So you think you know how to use it, you come back and you find that it's been upgraded and there's new functionality, things have changed, all these sort of things. In fact, I was doing a test with Georgia just to make sure we could do these things with a browser on Thursday, was it? And one of the pieces of software today has got a different menu structure. Having learned it on Thursday, I had to unlearn it first thing this morning to get a new one. So it changes a lot. So again, just in terms of some advice on doing it, I think it's a great idea. You can make it a whole lot better experience for people in the exercise. But do remember the exercise is what counts. Make sure you've got the objectives. Make sure you're testing the right things. And then make this stuff an extra that goes around it, that makes it a bit of fun. Don't make this the center point. It doesn't really work unless you're going to spend an unbelievable sum of money. Be careful about what you do, and that I think is about as much as I want to say. Just, I know it's a very brief look at what can be done. It's a very brief run around some of the tools. Hopefully that will help you. I would also say that I'm not on any commission from any of the tools, by the way. A lot of them offer various programs and all sort of things that you can sign up and pay. I deliberately don't take any fees from any of these companies, because then I can say, oh, I don't like them, and just stop mentioning them. So I don't, maybe you didn't hear all of the things that were happening. They'll be on the video, but you can, when you send it out, but it's one of the things that anybody who's worked in IT will probably know, never do live demonstrations. It just never works. Everything will go against you all the way. So, but in terms of that, hopefully you find some interest in there, some tools you can play with, some things you can look at for yourself. Get in touch with me if anybody has any questions, and if anybody wants to say, here's a better one, I'd be interested. And other than that, I'm happy to take any questions if anybody can. If you're still with us.
Thank you so much, David. I don't think we've got any questions. I think you might have covered everything. If anybody does have any questions, like I said, you can get in touch with David, and we will also send everybody a copy of all of the recordings as well, so you've got access to that, which has David's contact details on as well. And if you have any feedback, you can contact us. If you've got any subjects that you want us to cover with other webinars, please let us know. And apart from that, thank you all for joining us today, and thank you, David, for a very insightful webinar.
That's great, folks. Have a good rest of the day. Thank you again.
See you later. Bye-bye.